Well, hello and welcome to 2025's Material Musings. It's the first for the month, so I'm so pleased that you can join me, and I hope that you've had a blessed time over the Christmas and the New Year, and that you step out into your creative vision. That we know that creativity and art can impact on our health and well-being. And so I pray that each and every one of us can tap into that and have access to that. So today, what have I been working on? Oh my goodness. Last video, I shared that I really wanted to make a Kawandi, and I don't know, it's like I was holding myself back for some reason. I know the reason, because in my head it was just like, not that it seemed complicated, but it was just the starting. I'm not normally like that with creativity, but it was just like I so wanted to get it right that I was afraid to start because I thought I might mess it up. And that's not the way to be, especially in the beginning of the year, that we know we've got so many things that we want to do, so many things we want to try and experiment with. So I've started, and that's what I'm going to show you, what I've been working on. But I realised there was just some things that I realised as I thought about it, because when I first heard about it, and I've seen many people share their version of a Kawandi, and if you don't know what a Kawandi is, it is like a quilt, basically. It's a quilt. It's another word for quilt, but it was the city women in India who were enslaved Africans, and they were brought over to India by the Portuguese and the Spanish, I think. And so they've created this. That's where it's kind of that's its heritage, basically. That's where it came from. And so I think when I heard about, I was intrigued firstly to see how it was created, and then when you learn that, you know, the strips of fabric, scraps of fabric, and the way it's put together, it was just like, that just suits the way I really want to work. I've always been attracted to quilting, but I don't have the free motion foot for my machine, and so it always kind of, you know, obviously you can hand quilt, but it hasn't pulled me in like the idea of the Kawandi. And so I was hesitant, because it was just like, you know, I've got this image and the feeling that I really want to do it. And anyway, so this is an encouragement to step into 2025 and own it, and do all the things that you say you want to do. We have to be mindful of the time that we have left. Whether you have, if you put it like this, and I think I've said it before, maybe not on this series, but how many summers do you have left? How many Christmases do you have left? How many winters or springs? And then when you think about it like that, you may have, depending on how old you are, you may have like 30. And then it's just like, well, how many days are you going to waste out of that? You know, these are all the things you want to do. So how many things, how much time are you going to waste taken away from the things that you say you want to do? So, yeah, so I started, and I'll show you my method. I'm learning from others, and I'm using the same method, but obviously along the way, you know, we adapt, and so it's an inspired Kawandi. So let's take a look, and I'll show you what I've been doing. Okay, so here we are. So it's usually like scraps of fabric, sari material lining it, but I do have some sari material, but it's heavily decorated, and so I've adapted it. So I'm using, all of these are pieces of material. It's just small samples of material that I have hand dyed, batiqued. Let's come in. I thought for the first one that I make, I want to just use all the fabric that I've dyed and I've created, and it's going to be nice to have them all together. That's one of the things I just thought to myself, yeah, it'd be really nice to have them all together. I really love a lot of the fabrics that I have created. Look at that one, I just adore that. Yeah, I wanted to do that as my first. This, the Kawandi that I'm making, it's just bigger than like a 12 by 12. It's just a small one. And as I say, I've just cut the material into bits. So you've seen these. I've cut them into bits, and then I didn't want to repeat like two together, so I went through them and just put, you know, okay, there's going to be a different one each time I pick up the material. Okay, so they're my bits that I'm going to use and that have been using. This is the backing, and it was a piece of material that I had batiqued and got this really lovely colour. This is avocado pit, and then what I did was just paint this and use the stencil. It's a shop brought stencil that I've used, but I liked this kind of circular effect, and unbeknownst to me, it's actually going to look really nice once I've done all the stitches. It's going to have a really effective look. Okay, so that's the back at the moment. Now I'm using crochet thread, which does break every now and again, and so where I've got these strands, that's where it's broken, and what I'm going to do is feed this back into it, these like strands that I've got sitting here, and feed it back on the other side and then use it as part of the stitching. So I wasn't too worried about that. So that's the back. Let's reveal the front, shall we? Okay. And then the piece that I laid on the inside is another piece that I've dyed. So again, this was using the avocado, and I think I had just folded it and then dyed it, and so it's given us this kind of pattern. But as I say, this was one of the pieces that as I say, I wanted to use everything that I had hand dyed, and so I thought this would work really nicely. So here's my beginnings. We've got all the different, as I say, we've got all the different fabrics going round, and then they'll repeat, and then we'll just keep going. Now there's a few things that I've learnt so far. What I'm doing at the moment is the stitches I've got going around the top, they're actually quite small. They're not going to be, I'm not going to do this small, it's just a running stitch. I'm not going to do it as small for the next row and subsequent rows. But but I didn't mind doing it that small. It was just like, as I'm doing it, it's actually again another relaxing activity. And I guess because of the size of it, because it's so small as well, I'm getting around quite quick. So it's, as I said, it's bigger than, it's 19 by 15. 19 by 15. And yeah, so I'm doing a smaller stitch around the edge, around the outer edge, and then when I come in, the stitches are going to be sort of like maybe 1 centimetre large, and I'll just go round. And so the two things that I found for myself was that I don't mind doing the tiny stitches just along the outside, and I was surprised to see how far I'd got. I think I started yesterday. Yeah, and it's I'm having fun, and I'm having fun seeing my own fabric that I have created and seeing it put to use, because at the moment I've just got them stored in I'm treating them like some of my art supplies, the art supplies that you think, oh, I'm going to leave it for best, and I'm sitting on these fabrics that I've been loving. I've got some others that I just couldn't bring myself to use yet, but I just love a lot of the, some of them have been clay dyed, so this one is clay dyed, this one as well, and you've got some really lovely patterns. I've used wax, so kind of batik, and then I've used the clay to dye the fabric, and you've got different looks. And then the other thing I was looking at was when you fold over the fabric. So I've been folding over the top and then folding over the side. I was thinking to myself, I've just been using my finger, but I thought to myself, I don't even mind the idea of folding them all first with an iron and then having them there ready. Like, it was such, as I say, a meditative activity that it was just like, oh, this feels so good. Where I have wax resisted, like this piece, I just love it. And like, you think there's going to be other pieces randomly spread around the piece. So let me do that again. Randomly spread around the piece. But this is so nice. I like it that it's only really the wax resist ones, because when you press it or go along it with your nail, it stays. And that's that I really like that. But with the other pieces, I was just thinking to myself, do you know what, I really don't mind, because some of them where I haven't gone down, or I haven't gone down hard enough with my finger, say, or where the fabric itself is just that kind of fabric that's not going to, like this one is gonna kind of, it's not gonna hold that crease. I would yeah, just iron it. So that's probably what I'm gonna do with the other pieces. Just make sure the creases are as I want them to be, like here. And I know it's not the technique that the city women would do. I've seen a video of a few of the ladies working on a Kawandi, and obviously this is my first, so you know I've just got to practice. You want to be like perfect at the beginning, and it's just like, no, you need to put the time in, really. I mean, I enjoy the sewing, and this, I find this bit, yeah, just a little bit fiddly, especially with the smaller pieces. Maybe if I used larger pieces it wouldn't be as fiddly, but as I say, I'm enjoying using the pieces that I've created. So that's it, and I thought I would just share that with you this week. Next week we're back to our full program, where we'll be working on, this is an ongoing project, so I'm not in a rush to kind of get this finished. I want to kind of get the technique down, and I want to, there's some other larger pieces that I've got that I want to work on and share with you. And what I will be doing is sharing some of the techniques used in creating even some of the fabric that I've shared. Now, I've got videos where I've been doing the batik and the wax resist, and really it's just kind of about experimenting. So think about, even just look at this, think about the supplies that you have that you would normally use. You may not use it for, say, fabric or whatever, but it might be that you use it in your art journal. I'm thinking of stencils. Now, the same stencils can be used on fabric, or you can enable yourself to kind of print with the stencils on fabric. And I've got, this is a piece I didn't want to cut up because it's actually, is it this one? No, it's not this one. So actually I can cut up this a bit more. But I did a few with faces, and I really liked the way they look. This has got a heart. But this is a batik piece, and once I've added the wax, and it's dried, I've kind of crumpled it a bit like that, and then I've dipped it in the dye, and you get this nice kind of veiny effect all over. But I've added a piece of that down here. I was going to add, there was supposed to be 2 pieces, so I'm going to have to cut off some more so that we can incorporate a bit more of this into this piece. But as I was saying, with this, it's a stencil that's given me this look. So I don't even know how I did it, but it just looks amazing. But it was a stencil. Yeah, I think what I did was add the wax in between the stencil, and then added the avocado, and then removed the wax. But yeah, I'm excited to share with you what we've done so far. But I have been focusing on this one. I haven't been looking at any of my other projects that are there, but I'm glad that I started using some of my fabric. I've got my box of, this is fabric that I've hand dyed, painted, and if you buy it's the fabric kit, it comes with a course, but with the course you get a set of fabrics, and in it I've included some of the hand dyed and painted as well as printed fabric, so you'll get a bit of both. It's nice to really get fabric, different fabric that other people have worked on. So you do get some of my hand dyed fabrics Look at these. Doesn't it look gorgeous? When I did it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. And these fabrics you would really need to keep in, say, under glass and out of direct sunlight, because they can fade over time. But and I would say, you know, keep them under glass, or because of the light fastedness, is that the word? Like, you couldn't put them in a machine, and I wouldn't, like, you know, look at that, they look beautiful. I didn't have a heart to take this to cut this up. I want to use it as is. I just love it. I love the vibrancy, and this was done with terracotta clay, and I created this purely by accident, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, so that's one of my most, so those are a couple of my favourite ones. Even this one, I love this one as well. But I have to use them. It's just like, I have to use them and make more. Doesn't that look gorgeous? So I've used natural dyes and conventional dyes as well. I'm hoping to grow some indigo. I haven't got any seeds. I'm hoping the birds will drop some seeds in the garden. They've done that with a lot of plants that I've asked for. I'd mentioned the apple blossom tree to them as I was out there in the garden and they brought me an apple blossom tree. They dropped the seeds anyway, and as it grew, I realised it was the apple blossom tree. So it was just like, you guys are amazing. This is the one that I thought I was looking at. So I created, I might have to come out a bit. Let's come out slightly, and then you can see the fullness. See if you see it. Wait. Yeah, that's it. Can you see? You see the face? So this is one that I would, the face and shoulders, that I would keep as is, and potentially, you know, create, now that I've got the idea of how a Kawandi is put together, I can create using, what I would do is do the outside and then add this and then do the stitches in the same way. So I love that, the hands-on, and I love just to be able to create them using the fabrics that I've worked on. And then obviously this one is a part of a face, and this was the bottom. I had cut this particular one, I'd cut, but I'm going to be creating some more. But as I say, yeah, a lot of the I choose a selection. They're all at random, but I do choose a selection of fabrics from my hand-dyed collection, and also printed collection. Not printed by me, but just fabrics that I've brought over time. These ones, yeah. And I think that's why I'm so precious about them. But I have shared some in my my fabric kits. So yeah, if you order them, you will get samples of, and then you can see what you want to do with it. Look at this one. This is tea dyed. I love this one as well. It was just like, oh my goodness. And with the wax resist as well. It's just amazing what you could do simply by, you know, simple materials. Okay, so let me move this out of the way and we will refocus ourselves onto this. So, as I said, this is all the fabric that I've hand dyed, this whole thing. And yeah, we're stitching it and then we'll see how it turns out. And I was thinking, I've got some vintage threads that for the next one I will use those. I've got one that's like, how old is it? Nearly 40, 50 years old. But it's really strong. My dad used to make shoes and he had all the supplies. I didn't even realise I'd given some away, and then when I got interested in sewing I realised I'd already given away his Singer machine. And then I saw shoemaking supplies. I've got this was his, and I've used it in bookbinding as well. Yeah, so many different. This was his, to cut into the leather, and it was just like, yeah, my dad used to use this. I mean, he's gone. He left us 30 years ago, but these things are still, they were made strong. They're not made like they used to be made. Yeah, anyway, so as you've seen, the fabric that I'm using, and I do have other scrap fabric that for the next one I'm going to use and see how we go. I'm more and more wanting to use natural fibres rather than the synthetic ones, so I probably will be phasing the things that aren't cotton, aren't natural fibres, phasing them out because of the effects on the environment, on our bodies, the chemicals they're made with, and I did share a little bit last time. But yeah, this is my first Kawandi, and we'll see where we get to next week, but we'll also be looking at the main project for the month that I'll be working on for the rest of the month, as well as this. Okay, so I hope that you have a blessed day. I hope that you're doing something creative and that you're enjoying your creative time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Let me know if you've made one and how you found it. Take care for now. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and leave a comment. Why not? Okay, take care. Bye.